In a world of rumors and reckless talk, one woman stands for truth. She doesn't speculate. She cross-examines. The courtroom is her kingdom, and justice wears heels.
Order in the court, let the facts be seen. Melissa Jade on the mic, call her crime scene queen. She don't do drama, she don't do lies. Every case get clean when she analyze. Cross that line, she'll object real quick. Logic so tight, it cut like a brick. Beautiful mind with a presence so loud. When she speaks, you can feel the whole room bow, room bow, room bow. She studies every angle, every word, every lie. And when she speaks, it's not emotion, it's evidence. No hearsay, just receipts on the table. She don't need fiction, truth's her label. Courtroom lights, blow her heels, click steady. Whole jury leaning like, man, we ready. They talk nonsense, she calls it out clear. Confident, strong, you can feel that in the air. She got the law locked and the facts in sway. Another case closed the Melissa J. way. They came with theories, she came with proof. They had opinions, she had the truth. They had the theories, she came with proof. They had opinions, she had the beauty don't fade when the brain got bites. She shine like a verdict red late at night. Smart, bold, blow loud and still so graceful. Every sentence sharp and tasteful. Some say justice is blind, but when Melissa Jade steps in, justice sees clearly. Yeah, she walked through lies like a gavel crack. Truth in her voice, ain't no turning back. Debunking myths with a lawyer's flair. She don't chase clout, she builds it there. Applause in the chat, they know her name. Melissa Jade, she don't play games. Beautiful, brilliant, truth unafraid. Bow to the queen of facts, Melissa Jade. The verdict is in, and the truth has a name. Melissa Jade. Melissa Jade.
Hello, everybody. Happy Members Only Monday. B Crumbs gifting 10 memberships before we even started. That is so kind of you. It's so good to see you, number 2. But thank you so much and welcome all of our new members. Please thank B Crumbs if you got a membership. And welcome Jenna Adams. Thank you so much for joining. And hello, if you are watching from the other side and you can't chat. So happy to have you here with us. Also, we are going to finish the last 2 of these Medium posts from Laura Owens before we head over to Patreon. And then we will be moving on to the next segment, which we have Greg Gillespie and we have Mike. And I am excited to kind of do both of them. I'm really, really excited to go through that Mike Maricini interview. And then I'm just so curious how the argument was made with abortion coercion in court. And so I look forward to all of this. And I'm just so excited to pedaling on with this. I've met so many awesome new people covering this case. It's been a delight. So thank you all for being here. Hi, Marie Joey. Hi, DMMT. Yeah, she is insufferable. Hi, Julie A. Fall Shiggles. Carolyn Cooper. Neat Noodle. Midnight Lace. Look at all my people. Hey, Ajad. Jenna Adams. Holly Beans. Tiffany, Boho Hobo, Daniel. We're going to gift out a Patreon membership as well. Now that we're getting back into the swing of things, we got to start gifting our Patreon memberships back out. Can't wait till you cover his interview. It is telling. He is such a good guy. For Mike's, yeah, I'm excited. For Shiggles, we're going to do the Wade because I'm alternating between Wade and conspiracy. And so the last one was conspiracy. So we'll do Wade and conspiracy is next. But we could do some additional content over there. We still never finished Wade's emails. I could combine reading emails on Patreon if we want, or I could just do streams here reading the emails still and then continue with the calls on Patreon. Whatever you guys want. Hi, Natasha. Listening but can't chat at the moment. Hey, MJ and everybody. Thank you so much. It's good to see you. Hi, Clicker. Drive safe. Hi, Nancy Drew. So we have made it to the final 2 Medium posts. It felt like forever, but at the same time, like not forever, because it was very interesting the way that her mind works. Like it's very fascinating watching someone desperately out of control trying to control a situation that they essentially have no control over. But it's disheartening because it's very obvious this woman has gotten away with everything her entire life and she's never been held accountable. She was able to weaponize the court system always to her favor. And I really hope they do not offer her a plea. But if they do, I really hope she's too narcissistic to take the plea. That's just my selfish feelings. Hi, Sunshine Mafia. All right, so our missing child for tonight's live stream, Denasha Taylor. Denasha has been missing since November 21st, 2025, so 3 days, out of Baltimore, Maryland. She is 16 years old. If you or anyone who has information on Denasha's whereabouts, please contact the Baltimore Police Department at 1-410-396-2359. Oh, and I'm going to post on Patreon. I want to do best meme title. You know what? I'm sure we can even do that here too and gift away Patreon memberships. But with all these Laura photos I'm seeing, we got to pull like old school the way we would always do it for all these ridiculous people we cover. Title it, give it the best title and then win something. That's what I'm thinking. Hi, JS13. Okay, so let's finish these out. Our next one is the court ordered him not to talk about me. He responded by launching a smear campaign. All right. Laura Owens. On August 1st, 2023, I filed a paternity case against former Bachelor star. If you didn't already know, he's formerly a Bachelor star, Clayton Echard, following, a sexual encounter at his apartment on May 20th, 2023. Hey, Tess. The situation quickly escalated into something far darker and more unbelievable than I ever anticipated. Hey, little D. On October 6th, 2023, let me pause. Tess, Natasha, whatever mods are here, if you want to ask non-Patreon members in the chat a question, and then if they get the answer right, like just tell me the winner to gift out a Patreon or 2 memberships. If you guys could do that, that would be great. On October 6, 2023, I sought and obtained an order of protection against Echard from the Maricopa County Superior Court after he sent a series of threatening text messages and posted false and harassing statements about me on social media, igniting a hate campaign that his followers carried out. Pause. You know what she reminds me of? I just heard about this earlier today. This case where this DoorDash girl claimed that she was sexually assaulted because she was dropping off a DoorDash order. It said to leave it at the front door. And then she claims the front door was wide open and this man was indecently exposed. His pants were around his ankles and he was sleeping, and she was assaulted just from the view. Originally, his account got suspended, but 2 days later, her account got suspended. She wasn't able to DoorDash anymore. She was trying to incite all the stuff on TikTok until it comes out. His door wasn't even open. It was like semi-open, and she pushed her way and opened the door. Am I going in it? Is my audio going in and out? Let me know. She opened the door. It had Ring doorbell footage. I don't know why she would ever. But she recorded this guy sitting there in his own home, passed out sleeping, naked. But this is a perfect example of the generation that this is. Yeah, she filmed him inside his own house, but you saying you are the victim, you were assaulted. No, ma'am. And she ended up getting charged with 2 felonies because you then opened the door to this guy's house and you not only recorded him when he was sleeping naked, but you then proceeded to post that on the TikToks. So so when I'm reading this, it's reminding me very reminiscent of this girl, and it's like, you guys just want to be, I've never met people who so desperately want to be the biggest victim. That is what this generation is. It just, yeah, she seriously assaulted him, if anything, absolutely. But to claim that the door is wide open, but then you opened his door, yes, and she released his information too. It is crazy, Jade. It's absolutely nuts. But okay. On October 26, 2023, I sought and obtained an order of protection against Echard from the Maricopa County Superior Court after he sent a series of threatening text messages and posted false and harassing statements about me on social media, igniting a hate campaign that his followers carried out. The order was clear, specific, and legally binding. Quote, defendants shall have no contact with plaintiff and shall not cause others to contact plaintiff other than as outlined herein. Defendant shall not communicate or post untrue or harassing comments regarding plaintiff offline, online, including but not limited to on social media, and shall not cause others to communicate or post untrue or harassing comments. 19 days later, on October 25th, 2023, when Clayton fought the order at a contested hearing, the court doubled down. The Honorable Judge John Duty was blunt, telling him, it's almost like you can summon a tsunami with your followers. That is something that can be added as reasons for my decision under the harassment statute. You not only expressed your intent, but then I find that you followed through with it. You used the means that were available to you in order to, frankly, get her to stand down. I believe that it caused the plaintiff to feel seriously alarmed, annoyed, humiliated, and mentally distressed. It made her feel that way as a subjective matter, and that it would have caused a reasonable person to feel the same way under the circumstances. The court finds by a preponderance of the evidence that there is reasonable cause to believe that defendant has committed an act of domestic violence within the last year. Okay, here's the problem. Duty put that anonymous account onto Clayton and held Clayton responsible for essentially a troll account. And you can't do that. And that's where it's like really nerve-wracking, because they took Laura's testimony as fact, which you have to determine, someone's credibility to really weigh whether or not you're going to lean to believing just their testimony or not. But by Laura saying, I had only sent this photo to Clayton, even though she admitted she sent another photo to the news media outlet, the judge decided, well, if she only sent it to you and it's out, you are responsible. And that is really, really, I was shocked to see that. And that's why the judge started making, well, I could also use this X, Y, and Z to support my ruling. The moment that she admitted to sending any type of these photos, to the news media outlets. I don't care if she says they promised to not show it. Well, then what the fuck are you sending it to a news media outlet for? You think I'm going to send a juicy photo to TMZ and say, but now Pinky promise you're not going to show anyone? Why the hell else would you be sending it? Okay. That was so unfair. It was truly unfair. Tasha's going with the old 1 through 10. Attention, non-Patreon members, previous winners. Pick a number 1 through 10. First one to guess the number I sent, MJ wins. Oh, let me see the number. Okay, I got the number. And thank you, Jean. That's very kind of you. Welcome to 5 new members. So this is Natasha giving away a Patreon membership, and then Tess will give another one away. So pick a number 1 through 10. First one to get it gets a Patreon membership. He almost slipped, alluding to the fact he spoke to Laura privately before the hearing. Yeah, what I took that as is that was the ex parte hearing when she originally filed, that she did not have enough evidence for an emergency order to be granted. So unless he was talking about something else, thank you so much, Jean. That's very kind of you. Jean, rain in the green. Oh, I like that. Nobody's gotten it yet. And it's only 10 numbers. Who's going to get it? Non-Patreon members guessing. And we're on members only Monday. So I know there's probably a bunch of non-members wanting to comment. Non-Patreon members. So we could get the non-Patreon people. Well, Jade, you have to guess 1 through 10. 10, yes, is the number. Congratulations, Just Jen. You were just gifted a 1-month free Patreon membership. Shoot me an email, and I will send you a link. Congratulations. And then Tess will be asking another question in the chat for, again, non-Patreon members. So you could get gifted. So keep an eye out for that. Congratulations, Just Jen. My email is this. Nightbot will drop it. Neat noodle. Here's my email. Okay. Laura continues. The message was unmistakable. I beg to differ. Clayton had crossed a clear line. Again, you are holding someone else's actions. Imagine like a troll account here in this chat and you accuse someone, like you can't hold anyone else to the actions of a troll account. You just can't do that. Thank you, Jean. But instead of retreating, he stepped on the gas. Yeah, I'm sure you're used to the men retreating, aren't you, Laura? Clayton launched a calculated media blitz, dismantling my reputation in direct defiance of the order. He understood something devastatingly simple. If he spoke loudly and often enough, no one would hear my voice over the noise. Oh, really, Laura? Because I think your strategy is if you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. And there is some validity in that statement, honestly. If you say it often enough, there in some form, part of it does become true. Not in the way that you think, but again, everyone remembers the accusation. Nobody remembers the retraction. Yes, Just Jen. Thank you, Tasha. Just Jen, congratulations. Woohoo! In January 2024, Clayton gave an interview on the Vile Files. You're okay, Natasha. In January 2024, Clayton gave an interview on the Vile Files. He called my protective order against him fake, praised his little Reddit army of followers, and bragged, I'm going to tell everything everyone wants to know about this situation. Directing his audience, he urged, If you go on Reddit, look up Justice for Clayton. You can find out all of her information. It's important her name gets out there. Determined to keep the pressure building, he insisted, I'm asking people to blow the story up. I'm looking for strength in numbers, and declared, we've got to get this thing to blow up nationally. Oh, and it did, Laura. Hey, so there's that. Desperate to legitimize his attacks, he cast himself as the victim and urged others to join him. If you're someone that's been victimized by her, please reach out to me because we're only going to overcome this in numbers. What's wrong with that, Laura? Your web of victims is vast. On the Not Ashamed podcast, he reveled in the chaos he had unleashed, boasting, the community of people that keeps uncovering and supporting me is tracking her every movement. And it's like, you brought this on yourself. Sorry. You trying to show, Laura, Clayton is weaponizing his followers against you is at the same time showing you stalking his every move all over. He's on this interview, he's on this Patreon doing this and this and this. He said this, he uploaded this Instagram post. It is, ooh. Tess says, I need you to pick my favorite Christmas. This is a biased question. I need you to pick my favorite Christmas song this year so far. I'm making it hard for you guys. Go. I told Neat my answer to prove I'm not changing it too. All right, non-Patreon members. Tess wants you to guess her favorite Christmas song. Really, DMG? Silent Night. I mean, I guess it's a classic. I guess it's a classic. Okay. He wanted me hunted, humiliated, and destroyed. And he wanted credit for it. For a year and a half, the harassment has swallowed everything. My reputation, my safety, and at times, my will to live. Clayton has known this, and still, he keeps taking the same approach while his army cheers him on. Hi, Kelly. There you are again with that suicide, right? Threat just thrown in there. It's taken everything, even my will to live. She weaponizes that all the time. All I want for Christmas is you. That's Laura's. It's a good one, though. Despite the fact that I had no interaction with him after October 2023 and filed to dismiss, sorry, I have a yawn, and filed to dismiss the paternity case against him in December 2023 after I miscarried, an attempt he blocked. Bitch, you allegedly miscarried in July. You weren't even pregnant fully yet. First of all, even if I were to believe you actually got pregnant, you were just preg. You weren't even pregnant yet. You were just preg by the time you allegedly miscarried, if we're even to believe it, okay? But you filed December, a half a year later? No, girl, you would have been on the brink of having the twins. So despite the fact that I had no interaction with him after October 2023 and filed to dismiss the paternity case against him in December 2023 after I miscarried, an attempt he blocked, Clayton portrayed me as the one who wouldn't leave him alone. In an interview more than 7 months after my last contact with him, he called me a cockroach that just won't go away and a pest. I mean, he ain't wrong though. Yeah, right. Isn't that amazing? So it's just something she likes to weaponize and threaten, Natasha. She does. Hey, Kristen. Hi, Coffee and Skeletons. She's just,
You sit on a throne of lies.
The mere act of defending myself, of telling my story in writing on Medium, became in his mind an unforgivable offense. Oh, I'm sorry. Pause. Wait a second. So you're acting like you were completely silent, no contact, and he is going out calling you a cockroach for no reason. But you are also admitting that you are writing all these Medium posts and you have a right to defend yourself, but he doesn't. He doesn't. So again, it's okay for you to reach out to businesses that he is having a relationship with, doing talks for anti-suicide, right? And it's okay for you to reach out and destroy those business relationships. And it's okay for you to pursue false orders in court, but it's also okay for you to go out and reach out to the media and do interviews or podcasts or Medium posts. But gosh forbid if he does any of those same things, you're the victim. You are being victimized by him. He called you a fucking cockroach. Get over it. There is much worse he could have called you. Oh, I love Frank Sinatra. Is it White Christmas? I'm dreaming. Oh, sorry, getting low. The mere act of defending myself, of telling my story in writing on Medium, became in his mind an unforgivable offense. If you keep pushing my buttons with these stupid articles, I'm one button away from being pushed, he warned. Well, hey, listen, he at least gave you warning. He gave you many warnings, and you kept pushing. His threats were calculated promises, each more sinister than the last one, as he coldly pledged, "We have to drain her of her money." He vowed to go full scored earth. I think he means scorched. Full scorched earth on me, boasting he was getting a little fire under him, as if destruction was not just inevitable, but deserved. It, ma'am, it was. It was. Then, as if it was the most natural thought in the world, he said, "I thought I should burn this person." And somewhere along the way, he justified it all to himself. The high road isn't getting me anywhere. Clayton's next move was to rewrite history, loudly, publicly, and methodically. On June 2nd, 2024, 8 days before our evidentiary hearing and more than 2 weeks before Judge Julie Ann Mata's ruling in the paternity case, I filed against him. He appeared on the Charlie Kirk show, saying she was never pregnant. The whole thing was a lie. Okay, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. Prove that that's defamation. Go ahead, Laura. Bet you can't. He viciously attacked my positive blood. Oh, God. He viciously attacked my positive blood and urine HCG, the pregnancy hormone lab tests, including one that he purchased and had me take in front of him, baselessly asserting you can manipulate them, which she did. I know she did. And later he told Reality Steve that they're known as pregnancy HCG tests for most people, but not her. Laura, so now your HCG, urine, and blood have been attacked? Kirsten Lee, yay! Congratulations, Kirsten. What was it? Let me see. I'll be home for Christmas. That's a good one. All the classics are the good ones. Congratulations. She's saying that her piss is being attacked. Her piss. Her urine. How much more of a victim do you have to be? My pinky toenail is now being viciously attacked. You are the biggest victim, Laura. There you go. Do you feel better? And I love how she keeps using the repetition, right? You've already stated this in how many previous Medium articles, right? That he made you take a urine test in front of him. Okay. Oh, okay. But you're accusing him of doing exactly that, repeating it to drown your side out, right? You're just taking everything you're doing and mirroring it back to him. He didn't stop there. He targeted my miscarriage next, labeling it a fabrication, cruelly dismissing one of the most painful experiences of my life. Clayton later falsely declared she makes up rape claims. She makes up having ovarian cancer. I have been raped. I have never had cancer, thankfully, nor claimed I did. Really, Laura? I know me and Shay read that message exchange between you and Mike, and we could take a stroll down memory lane if you'd like. You sure as fuck did. You sure as fuck did. You had one ovary, remember? Honestly, and Lily says, okay, can someone explain to me why he wastes doing like a pee test when they didn't make the whoopee? I can't answer that for you, and I struggled with that a little bit in the beginning, but the only thing I can think of is he has admitted he was impaired the night of this sexual interaction. And they do both admit that there was grinding naked. I think he always knew that he had absolutely no memory. But I think she gaslit him. And again, until you're on the receiving end of extreme gaslighting, it's very hard to understand how can you be gaslit into something, believing something happened that you know didn't. And I think he, for a second, considered shit. Did something happen that I don't remember? But then it quickly became apparent. No, like that didn't happen, and I'm sure he did consider at that point, since he did ejaculate twice, did she do something with my semen? Yeah, she ran to the bathroom immediately after. That's what I think. I think she was wholly gaslighting him, and he really genuinely didn't believe it was positive. He thought it was going to end it there. And then in that moment, it came up positive, and that probably opened the door to a whole new cycle of emotions of, okay, I guess I believe you now. But then once it settles, thinking, no, but I didn't have sex with her. Like it must have been a crazy back and forth. And then you have Judge Duty over there treating you like you're just a guy who doesn't want to own up to his responsibilities. And it must have been so defeating to know your truth and nobody believes you. Well, it seems as though Clayton did buy this test, but I don't know. I'm sure you could buy positive pregnancy tests online, but I know for a fact you can alter your urine to produce a positive pregnancy test, because it is true. It's not necessarily a pregnancy test. It is an HCG test. It's detecting HCG hormone in your urine. Yeah. Think about it. There's the fake polygraph test results. You would never even think, I would have never known that that was even a thing before Letitia. So she says, I have been raped. I have never had cancer, thankfully, nor claimed I did. But even this was not enough. On the Charlie Kirk show, he demanded, I want this referred to the DA because she should be prosecuted. Oh, we found out that she was ordering HCG and having it delivered to her home via courier in a nondescript package. See, and it's not my lifestyle. I'm Long Island, New York. You know, like we don't have like all the animals and horses necessarily here, but apparently with her, and this is what I heard. I can't tell you from experience, but apparently, like when you have a ranch or animals you're taking care of on that level, you can order hormones and things like that to administer to said animals. Again, I don't know if that's true. That's what I heard. So Charlie Kirk eagerly echoed his call, pledging to personally, publicly, and privately encourage Maricopa County Attorney Rachel Mitchell to pursue charges weeks prior to Judge Mata's ruling. In another interview, he coldly stated, she deserves to be behind bars. Hopefully she gets put away for years. He's not wrong, though. A lady from a clinic was subpoenaed by the grand jury, but they didn't have any records of Laura. But that's what she said investigators were looking for. Interesting. Hi, Vicky. That's see, I am curious about the positive, because that means she would have. I don't know how the HCG hormone works, as in if you ordered it for your horse or something. Like, is it something you take orally? Is it something you inject? Like, how quick? Because when she went over to Clayton's, like, she was able to apparently pee and produce that positive pregnancy test. Is this something she would have had to take days prior? Oh, congrats, Steph. I'm not sure if B Crumbs got you or Jean, but congratulations. I would love that, Just Jen. There's, like I said, in Patreon, there's a Laura Owens chat now created, and I'm going to start dropping things in there, but you could put anything related to Laura in that chat. Okay. So just one day before the June 10th, 2024 evidentiary hearing, Clayton posted an Instagram video. He stood at the center, flanked by Gregory Gillespie and Michael Maricini, two men I also have active protective orders against. Clayton painted the three as victims and declared, we are going to make sure she faces the consequences of her actions. We are all here to see her referred to the DA for prosecution. Clayton didn't just attack my present. He sought to obliterate my past. God, if we have to hear again, that's exactly what she's about to do. Although the San Francisco Superior Court issued a CLETS domestic violence restraining order against Maricini in 2018 and again in 2020, formally recognizing me as the victim, Clayton rewrote the truth, insisting, in reality, she's the aggressor. Hi, Nicolina. Speaking about my TEDx talk, a story recounting how a stranger on a plane slipped me a note during a flight with Maricini, recognizing that I was being abused. Clayton dismissed it outright, although he had no knowledge of what the woman had witnessed, nor of what I endured during a relationship that ended in 2017, 6 years before he met me. Clayton demanded that Ted take my speech down, saying, why her TEDx talk is still up baffles me. Take it down. The whole thing is based on a lie. You're letting a liar play the victim card. Shame on you. He's not wrong. But it's totally fine that you reached out and said, hey, I heard Clayton Echard is going to be speaking at one of your conventions, preventing suicide. But here is my suicidal letter attached in a PDF Dropbox, right? Because he made me feel suicidal because he is denying our twins. Here's also a picture of my bump, my burrito bump. Come on. On June 18, 2024, Judge Mata handed Clayton exactly what he wanted. A referral for criminal prosecution and, shockingly, $150,000 in legal fees, despite the fact that he had incurred no legal fees at the time I moved to dismiss the paternity case in December 2023 after I miscarried. The case is currently being appealed. How's that going, girl? Just curious, asking for a friend. How's that going? Really? They sell liquid HCG in a dropper that you could easily put on a stick and produce a positive test. Wow. That's right, little D. I couldn't imagine keeping up with all those lies. Like, you get buried in them. It's easy to remember the truth because, and that's why it's so interesting to watch body language when somebody's lying, because you could really see, because when you're telling the truth and somebody asks you, you're recalling from a memory. You experienced it, you saw it, you heard it, you felt it, you smelt it, you could have tasted it, depending on what the memory was. And so you're pulling from one portion of your brain versus when you're making up a lie, you're pulling from a whole different portion of the brain, and you're using your fantasy and your creative part of the brain, and your body doesn't want to lie naturally. You're like, it will always fight a lie unless you're a psychopath. So she wrote, when I finally contacted the Scottsdale Police Department on April 21st, 2025, to report Clayton's repeated and flagrant violations of the protective order, which is still in effect today, a response arrived via email. There is probable cause that a crime has been committed against you. But by then, it was far too late. For more than a year, Clayton has made a mockery of the law. A man explicitly ordered not to utter my name. That's not what it said. Sorry, that's not what it said. It did not say that he could not utter your name, even if you want to entertain that bullshit protective order. It said he can't incite, harass, or defame or threaten you. But I digress. A man explicitly ordered not to utter my name, who instead shouted it from every platform he could find. A man instructed to cease his harassment, yet broadcast his threats to hundreds of thousands, turning strangers into vigilantes armed with misinformation and hate. A man legally bound to leave me in peace, who instead built an army intent on ensuring I'd never find it. Reflecting now, I can't help but wonder, if I had reported him at the very beginning, when he first defied the order of protection, would things have turned out differently? Ma'am, wait, you did. What the fuck do you mean? You started reporting him an hour after you got out of court, before he was even served, before he was even made aware that there was an order. So what do you mean? I wonder if I had reported him at the very beginning when he first broke you started an hour after court ended. How much more in the beginning do you want? Instead, I stayed silent and he kept speaking. Oh, really? Because I'm pretty sure we did like 2 or 3 live straight going over every call you made to Scottsdale claiming that he and Greg violated the protection orders. Every threat, every lie, every rallying cry to his followers pushed the story further out my hands. He said it himself. You versus me and my little army behind me. You stand no chance. He was right. Oh, this is how you know. Like, this is straight delusion. Like, if I only reported him you did. You did. Oh my God. It's going to drive me crazy. Sorry, it really is. Okay, let's see. What do we got? I remember, and I wrote it down. I remember we skipped one. Plea to prosecute. Yep. Okay, I got it. This is press release from Laura. Yeah, she's bananas. May 7th, 2025. But is this, hold on. Hold on. Because I want to check, because I remember we skipped over 2024, number 2. Yeah. Okay, this must be the same one then. Yeah, it's the same one. Okay. This is the final one, guys. Ready? On June 22nd, 2024, just 4 days after the paternity ruling that triggered the referral of my case to her office, County Attorney Rachel Mitchell was photographed smiling next to a Justice for Clayton member, holding a letter that explicitly called for my prosecution. The letter was part of a coordinated international campaign aimed at pressuring her office to file charges against me. She looks pressured, right? Boy, does she. She looks pressured, don't she? How the fuck do you know what's in that letter? How do you know? Do you have x-ray vision? Well, I guess no. Even if you had x-ray vision, you still couldn't read it. But so much pressure. She looks like she's about to crack. The press release from Laura Owens, by Laura Owens. As someone who has never been charged with a crime in my life, I am stunned, absolutely stunned, by the 7 felony charges announced against me by the Maricopa County Attorney's Office. 14. These allegations appear to be the result of coordinated harassment, misinformation, and public pressure in the aftermath of a paternity case I filed against former Bachelor star Clayton Echard. Since 2023, I have been the target of a relentless campaign led by a group calling itself Justice for Clayton, a faction of Mr. Echard's supporters who built an entire narrative on a demonstrably false claim that I faked a pregnancy. Oh, a pregnancy. Singular. Make that plural, pregnancies. Yeah, twin set of felonies. So true. For sure she did. I think she mentioned that he was a Bachelor star more than Clayton has. She opens it up the same way every time. But tell us again how it didn't matter to you. You didn't care anything about it. Now it's time to pay the piper, Nancy. The accusation became their rallying cry, fueling thousands of hours of monetized YouTube content, Reddit threads, and social media attacks, many of which dissected my medical history, my mental health, and personal life with obsessive cruelty. The abuse eventually moved offline. The group was issued a public death threat against my mother and calling in multiple false welfare checks to our home, knowing the resulting body cam footage would be released publicly and weaponized to humiliate me further. In June 2024, after the conclusion of the paternity case, the group turns its focus to local law enforcement. They launched an international letter writing campaign demanding my indictment. Okay, let me pause this. So everyone's writing fucking letters to Santa Claus to the North Pole, right? Even if that were true, if you didn't do anything wrong, they weren't going to charge you. We could sit here all day and write, hey, arrest Tess, hashtag arrest Tess, send Tess to the clinker. If there's nothing that Tess has done, our letters aren't going to do shit. But you can't say, well, hey, I was committing crimes in peace, but you're alerting authorities to my criminal activities. Shame on you. No, shame on you. Shame on you. You're the one doing it. And you can't get mad. The judge did it. The judge saw your evidence for yourself. And sorry to use you as an example, Tess. Don't send Tess to the clinker. We're just making an example. But shame on you. The judge saw your evidence. The judge heard your testimony. And the judge determined you got to look into this bitch. Natasha. One crime. She had pictures with Bachelor contestants. She and her sister were diehard fans, and her dad interviewed at least one Bachelor, the winery guy, for his radio show. It was true. We had a whole lot of letters, writing letters, not emails. The idea was a crazy amount of mail to pressure response. People literally wrote emails all over the world. It was amazing. It is amazing that when people want to come together and get movement, that they can. That is awesome. Mail, not email. Well, that's smart, right? You can't really avoid I just think about Kris Kringle at the end of the movie, like dumping all the letters to Santa. You can't, when it's physical and it's tangible and it's in your face, you can't really avoid it. So they launched an international letter writing campaign demanding my indictment. Just 4 days after my case was formally referred to County Attorney Rachel Mitchell, Mitchell was photographed smiling alongside a Justice for Clayton member, holding one of their letters that explicitly called for my prosecution. That image was quickly shared by the same group that had targeted me for nearly 2 years, celebrating it as proof that their pressure campaign was working. In November 2024, because of my autism, hi, Kimberly, I formally requested disability-related accommodations from Miss Mitchell's office. Oh, okay. So right after you were indicted and charged, you then got diagnosed with autism and immediately requested disability accommodations. But did you need those accommodations for any of your prior cases? Any of your prior cases? No? You seem to do just fine rubbing up on that moon bump. Judge, is it possible to let Clayton see that I am actually indeed pregnant? Because he hasn't seen me. Shut up. While they acknowledged receiving my request, they never followed up. Under federal law, that isn't a formality. It's a requirement. They were obligated to engage in a good faith interactive process to determine whether support was needed, and they chose not to. That same office has also never acknowledged that I hold a valid order of protection against Mr. Echard, issued in October 2023 after a contested hearing in which the court found, by a preponderance of evidence, may I add, that he committed an act of domestic violence against me, and that there was probable cause he violated that order in April 2025. in the May 2025 indictment against me, despite pressure from the Justice for Clayton group, the MCAO did not charge me with faking a pregnancy. Instead, they are allowing that narrative to linger, encouraging the perception without making the allegation because they know it cannot withstand scrutiny. Pause. I could not imagine them ever being able to charge you with not being pregnant, because essentially there really is no, you can't prove a negative. You can't really, unless she was in the hospital during that period of time where there was active labs being taken and you could prove at no point was she pregnant in that time frame. Other than that, you can't prove that someone wasn't pregnant at all. Like, they can't prove that she didn't suddenly become pregnant and within a day lose it, within a week lose it. They can't say that. The only thing they could do is show that you have not proved beyond a reasonable doubt that there was that pregnancy or that you sought any type of care. Like, that's a lot of gray area. And I don't know how they could go about that. They have omitted the most crucial fact. I had lab confirmed positive HCG, the pregnancy hormone, blood, and urine tests from licensed medical providers in their possession. I also took a positive first response pregnancy test in front of Mr. Echard, which he purchased himself. Yet none of this was included in the indictment, nor was it acknowledged in the press release. For transparency, members of the press are welcome to contact me directly for temporary access to my patient portal to view the records directly from the medical source. The truth is not hidden. It was simply ignored. Again, the fact that you had a positive pregnancy test, which they're testing for HCG, really doesn't. You were in court with a huge bump, and you claimed under oath you sought not even just the standard level of treatment for a woman who's pregnant, but specialty treatment, right? You were high risk. And you want not only to believe that you didn't get any form of care at all outside of those initial pregnancy tests, but also that, hey, I had a huge ass bump for no reason because I had miscarried essentially within the same time frame. I wouldn't have even known I was pregnant if I didn't take a test. That's how quick you miscarried. Again, you were you weren't pregnant. She is very unique. These charges appear to be the product of intense public pressure, not impartial judgment. They reflect a system that responded to online outrage, ignored procedural protections, and moved forward based on narrative rather than fact. It is difficult not to see them as part of a broader effort to discredit me, discourage me, and make an example out of me. I intend to meet these accusations head on, and I will defend myself fully and relentlessly through every step of this process. We are counting on it, Laura. Like, no joke. Like, our fingers are crossed. I hope you do. I look forward to this very much. So you know what? Since we ended there, something we can do before we go to Patreon. I hadn't yet gone over the TEDx talk with you guys. Yep. God, she's... So let's see what we got going on here. Well, no, let me. The life-saving power of kindness to strangers. Laura Owens. Wow, it's gonna move.
December 30th, 2016. After
Okay, right off the bat, your energy, you're gonna have to lower it down, ma'am. Your energy is too high for me. And you got some homes going on. You got some the nanogram Holmes going on, Elizabeth Holmes, where you're going low. Yeah, you're right. Like even your hands. I see what you're doing.
months of planning a once-in-a-lifetime trip to Iceland, it's finally here. It's finally time to go on flight 162, San Francisco to Reykjavik. A tall man boards behind you and offers to put your carry-on bag in the overhead bin. You graciously thank him and relax as you settle into seat 21H. This plane ride should be a time to drift off to sleep and dream about seeing the northern lights, to wonder what it's going to feel like to soak in the Blue Lagoon, to go dog sledding for the first time.
Who the fuck are you talking to?
Only you can't because of the noise in the background. And no, it's not the roaring of the jet engines. It's the loud voice of the man sitting behind you who helped you with your luggage. He's speaking to a woman who's incessantly sobbing. He's spewing insults at her, demeaning her, and the more she cries, the harsher they become. She can barely get out a word to respond to him through her tears. Turn your brain on, he says in a mocking tone with a laugh, followed by, use your words. He changes the subject. He tells her, you haven't accomplished enough for a woman who's in her late 20s. People aren't...
Okay, sorry. Yeah, she recorded this and submitted it with a fee. Yep, TEDx women, right? Women. Bitch. Oh my God, just know, Laura. Her energy, I'm telling you, she got Elizabeth Holmes energy where you're trying to take it down octaves to try to demand presence, right? Your arms going crazy, Laura. You know, like your body is fighting it. This bullshit story. And this story is allegedly, right, about Mike Maricini. And so his name has been slandered and brought through the dirt and mud. And this alleged woman, don't forget, the declaration that I clicked on was never signed unless there is a signed declaration that was actually entered in court. This one was not signed. So all it was essentially bullet points typing up the facts of what happened, not signed or certified, though.
They're being honest with you when they compliment you on your work. They're just trying to be nice to you. I'm telling you this because I care about you. She keeps crying and he sounds disgusted. Look at you. You've never been my type. You're ugly. If you cared about me, you would want me to find someone I'm attracted to. She composes herself well enough to ask the question you've wondered all along. Then why do you want to be with me? She says. Every time I bring up breaking up, you tell me you don't want to. He responds with, I feel sorry for you, okay? That's why I'm with you. Because no one else would want to date you.
Yeah,
because
right.
I'm a nice person.
Yeah, right. Girl,
this seems like a
sorry. Yeah, that's the face I have on right now too, Laura. That is bullshit. I'm sorry, because if oh my God, not everything is some poor victim. If a guy was talking to you like that, you're an idiot for fucking staying. You're not talking about some long fucking marriage here where you're truly invested. You got the kids, like your brain. You're talking about a guy that you were just somewhat dating. If you put up with that, that's on you. But you didn't. This is all a fabrication.
Totally different man than the one who put your suitcase away. You glance back just to be sure, and
yeah,
apparently. It's him. You brought your sound canceling headphones. Easy solution. You think you can just tune them out. But even through them, you hear his voice.
Bullshit.
Don't poke the bear, he warns her.
How do you know? How do you know? Because again, she's talking for the girl that was allegedly in front of her. Laura's the one who's being victimized and abused. How would you know what her experience was putting on these fucking headphones and not hear? You, by your own admission, you hadn't spoken to this woman until way after, right?
You look back and forth. You mean this is how he is when he hasn't been poked? How could he be any worse? You look left. You see a flight attendant coming down the aisle. You could pull her aside, tell them they're being too loud. She could ask him to be quiet, and that would stop him. But as much as you try to ignore it, your gut tells you that this woman is in danger. But then again, she's also a stranger. So it's none of my business, you think. You try to convince yourself to do nothing. But then you hear it. She asks him, "What can I do to fix myself?" He thinks for a minute and says, "I don't know. Kill yourself?"
Oh.
She continues to cry and says, "I'm so sorry." In a serious tone, he follows up with, "If you truly love me, you want me to be happy. And maybe if you're in heaven, you can help me find my soulmate and look down and smile on our wedding day." This man is sick. There's a napkin under your cocktail and a pen in your purse. You quickly scribble a note, but you can't decide whether or not to give it to her. At least you'll have it down on paper. You write, "Dear girlfriend, I know the Lord had me overhear your conversation to let you know that you are a very beautiful young woman that should have a man that makes you cry with wonderful laughter, not bullying. You are being abused and he will never love you like you deserve. I'm very concerned about you and I'm praying for you. Run from him. Get help and protection. He doesn't care what you think or say or do. He is a very sick man and will make you sick if you stay with him. Please take this to heart and get help fast." You decide to sign your name and write down an email address that you rarely use. Towards the end of the flight, the man leaves his seat to go to the bathroom. This is your chance. You peek back through the seats and your heart sinks because you see it. You see her. She has a face now. She's someone's daughter, someone's friend, and she needs help. You look down at the note. What would you do? Would you listen to your heart and pass it to her, thinking that the best case scenario is that it helps her? The worst case scenario is that she chews you out as you get off the plane. Or would you let your head get the best of you and fall back on that mindset that has become so conditioned to focus on our own problems, not on those of a stranger? What would you do? What would you do if you knew that in passing her that note, the woman sitting in the row behind you would tell you that you're the reason she's not 6 feet underground?
What?
And that she would thank you for saving her life from the TEDx stage. My name is Laura Owens, and as you can tell, I wasn't the hero.
Wait, I'm sorry. From the TEDx stage, why is she looking at as if there's an audience? This is not TEDx talk. This is the TEDx woman. Like, these aren't the TED Talks. So what audience is she looking at, an audience, or was this pre-recorded? I need to know.
In this story. I was the crying woman in seat 22H. The stranger, Nancy, made the courageous decision to hand me that note. In her mind, she could have easily justified keeping it to herself. She could have just said it was none of her business. But she saw me as an individual, as someone of value, as a person that somebody cared about, and she made it her business. In that brief period of time, Nancy saw him for who he was, for how I couldn't see him. I felt like I was on a roller coaster ride. We'd had a fairy tale start, and then it came down fast. It seemed like overnight, his charm and compliments turned to criticism. His comments became more and more menacing until finally, the verbal abuse became physical. The first thing he did once we landed in Iceland and got to the hotel was ask me to pick a number. Not knowing why, I picked 40. He said that was how many times he was going to slap me.
Oh, shit!
He did, and then...
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I am not trying to trigger anybody who has been an actual victim of DV. But do you think, before boarding that flight, just like Natasha did in the chat, pick a number 1 through 40, and you happen to pick the highest fucking number, 40, right? Great. That's how many times I'm a bitch slap you when we get to the fucking hotel. And this is what the problem is with liars too. You always go to the extreme, don't you? You always have to overcompensate and go over the top to make it so grandiose and so fucking just a spectacle. It is ridiculous. I'm truly embarrassed for you.
He choked me. The less oxygen I breathed in, the more he smiled.
Right.
And for the first time in months, he praised me. Good girl, he said. My mind flashed on the note. He was truly sick and I was in danger. I begged him to stop and he stormed off. I thought he'd left the room. So I went to my backpack and I reread the note. I had no idea that he was standing behind me.
You had no idea.
He told me to hand him.
He just choked you. He just fucking played numbers on your face. And you did, to the point where you're losing consciousness, right? And you're in a hotel room. It's one fucking room. And you thought he was gone. And so you go and reach into this cocktail note to what? Ponder it, not call 911 or fucking even room service, nothing. But you're like, oh yeah, no, let me look at this note. And then, oh, you're still here. You're still, oh my, and he caught me with the note. Okay. Sure.
The note. He said, I knew she was listening all along. She doesn't know what she's talking about. His face was red with anger and a vein popped out on his forehead. He tore up the note, figured it would never be brought up again, but luckily I'd taken a picture.
Even with all conveniently he tore up that note, but luckily you took a picture that you just conveniently have. Got it. So then why didn't you open your phone and look at the picture instead of taking out the physical napkin in such a moment with fear, right?
All of that drama, we made it to dinner. He abruptly left right before the check came. He said he needed to go shoot footage for his Instagram and told me not to go find him. He said he didn't want to be seen in photos or videos with me because it would hurt his chances of becoming Insta-famous, which was a big goal for him. He thought that if he appeared to be alone, he would appear single, and that would get him a lot of female followers. My heart was broken, and I had no sense of direction, both literally and figuratively. I mean, truly, I had no service, and I was lost. I asked 2 people for help finding my way back to the hotel, but they didn't speak English. I stumbled around the streets of Reykjavik in the highest heels I owned and in a sleeveless dress that was as inappropriate as you could get for the snowstorm I was in. The fireworks went off at midnight and I could hear people in the distance cheering. I could feel their excitement about the idea of a new year, new hopes, new dreams, new goals. And then there was me, looking worse than ever after crying for the better part of 24 hours. I slipped into an alley. I was numb from the blanket of hopelessness and unworthiness I felt. The only wish I had for the year was to redo my life and become a different person, since my boyfriend had convinced me I was a failure and I couldn't fix myself, but that wasn't going to happen. The last thing I wanted to do was die, but he had convinced me that there wasn't a place for me on earth. He said that he didn't want to end our relationship, but I couldn't understand why he didn't want to when he treated me like he hated me.
Why didn't you want to?
He said that I brought it out of him, that it was my fault, that he'd never been violent before he met me, that I was responsible for his transformation from the all-American boy to American psycho. But the thing is that I had no idea what I'd done wrong. I was the same person I was when he met me. I was giving, I was kind, I was loyal, I was supportive. I looked the same. All of the qualities he said he liked so much about me hadn't changed. I was so confused and I felt so alone. I knew I couldn't tell my family and friends what had been going on. I didn't even think they would believe me. After our first date, I had proudly told them that I now believed in love at first sight. I told them that I thought he was the one. And after seeing us together, they agreed. Even when the relationship started to go south, he still acted like he adored me in public. He only abused me in private. And he had convinced me that I was the problem. But as much as I tried, I couldn't figure out what my problem was. As I sat in that alley, just lost in my thoughts, my mind flashed to that note from a stranger that I'd been handed on the plane. My fingers felt numb, but I was able to unlock my phone and open up the photos of it. For the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe I wasn't crazy. Maybe Nancy saw something in him that I didn't. Maybe I needed to take a step back and try to look at our relationship from the perspective of an outsider, from that of a stranger, of how it looked to the world instead of how it felt to me. I weakly stood up and wobbled back to the hotel. When I got to the room, he was livid. Maybe it was because he'd had too many drinks, or maybe his Instagram post hadn't gotten the attention he thought it would. Or maybe he was upset because he didn't know where I was, and for a few hours, he'd lost his power over me. I hoped he was mad because he realized that I'd taken Nancy's note to heart and that I was now onto him.
Right.
Not surprisingly, the rest of the trip was a nightmare. It was impossible to enjoy the beautiful surroundings when I knew that once we got back to the hotel room, I would be abused.
Welcome, Sarah.
I thought constantly about Nancy's note, even after we left Iceland and got back to the United States. Every time he said or did something awful to me, I took it less and less personally. I was finally able to admit to myself that she was right. He was never going to love me like I deserved. I knew that after what he'd done to me, he could never be the one, but I didn't know how to leave. Towards the end of our relationship, he attempted to suffocate me. I remember exactly where I was when I felt almost all of my spirit, my soul, all of my fight dissipate. The feeling of his hand on top of a pillow, on top of my face, pressing all of his weight, more than twice mine, into me in an effort to silence me once and for all. I blacked out, but I woke up.
Do you have
I was a
medical
different person
records?
when my
Do you have medical records for this? Just curious. Do you have any medical records that corroborate that story?
eyes opened. I tried to leave and he wouldn't have it. He was following me around my neighborhood. He was banging on my door at night, telling me that he knew I was home when I didn't answer the door. So I had to do something that I never thought I'd do. I called a DV group and I asked for help. Within minutes, I was connected with a wonderful woman on the phone, another kind stranger who said that I was safe. She said that she believed me and that I wasn't alone. She said that one day I wouldn't be embarrassed to call myself a domestic violence victim and that I would be proud to call myself a domestic violence survivor. That woman connected me with more kind strangers who owed me nothing but played a huge part in saving my life. They helped me get a restraining order against my ex-boyfriend, which I still have today. And guess who wrote a witness statement for me? Nancy. She was stunned that I reached out to her, but she was...
A witness statement? I haven't seen a witness statement. It went from a declaration witness statement. Okay. Where's the signed certified copy from Nancy?
happy to help in any way she could. Stranger after stranger after stranger. Kindness after kindness after kindness. This was the kind of world that I wanted to live in. I look back now and I wonder what life would have looked like for my family and friends if he'd succeeded in taking mine. Nothing would have been better for them, as he'd convinced me they would be. My sister told me that I would be the maid of honor at her wedding when we were teenagers, long before she met the love of her life.
Wow.
She found him and got married this year.
No,
and
Tasha.
I cried more than anyone else at the ceremony because I was so happy to be there, to be alive, to be with her. Before my sister walked down the aisle, she said she couldn't imagine anyone else standing by her side on her big day. I said, I'm only here because of Nancy. She said, because of a little note. And I think about what I would have missed if she hadn't written that note. I think about seeing my father actually run in the pool in his first swimming lesson after seeing his movement being so affected by Parkinson's disease for 21 years. My mom and I had endless conversations about my relationship and how Nancy's kindness had saved me. That was the catalyst for the podcast we started together, where people who inspire us talk about their moments of growth, discomfort, and change that led to happy, successful times that they never thought were possible. And after nearly 450 interviews, I've learned that most people say there was one person who changed everything for them. Their stranger, their Nancy. I've often wondered if I would have developed the courage to leave on my own and realized that even if I did, it would have been too late. One more time might have been too late. The difference between him being my abuser and my murderer was this.
Oh my God, no, she did not pull Thanos. Okay, thank you, Nancy. Okay, I'm a little pissed at the name she picked for her imaginary plane friend, Nancy. Thank you, Nancy, the good Nancy. No, she had a podcast with her mom. Again, will the real Nancy please stand up? But she just legit Thanos and snapped her little finger. She's, oh my God.
The difference between him being my abuser and my murderer was this.
Not the tongue.
That's it. One more second of his fingers pressing on my neck. One more second without air, and I wouldn't be here. For the first time in my life, I had a seizure, then two, then three.
Oh God.
My body was run down.
Yeah.
It couldn't have taken any more abuse from him. I know I am only standing here because a stranger told me I didn't deserve it. I know that at some point in our lives, we've all been in a situation where eavesdropping, interrupting, and intervening, things we were told to never do, could have changed the trajectory of someone's life. We just don't realize it at the time. How easy is it to turn our heads away when we see someone in public in distress? To pretend that we have more important things to do than simply acknowledge their existence. To bury ourselves in our smartphones, wasting our time, airbrushing our appearance to get more meaningless likes. Today, it's easier than ever to be the main character of our own story. We can move through the world immersed in our technology, seeing the rest of humanity as just a backdrop for our own story. I'm the first to admit that I'm guilty of that, of thinking that I could take control of the narrative of my life by writing an Instagram caption, of thinking that as long as it looked like I was living the perfect life, I was.
It's so funny. It's
For
crazy.
example, I posted this throwback to Iceland shortly after arriving back in the US, which got comments like, so jealous and looks amazing. Now, here's where I was when I actually posted it.
That doesn't even look like her. I know she was much younger, but doesn't even look like her. Now, this is where I really was. What the fuck? Again, why are you falling into the social media crap of pretending that it's something that it isn't? She is the main character of her own stories, even if her lies. Yep. Proud of you, sweetie. Her neurologist said that the kind of epilepsy she had is not usually caused by a traumatic brain injury. Who would have thought?
In the hospital, after my abuser and I had a particularly rough night. Can you imagine the reaction my friends would have had if I posted my reality instead of the one I portrayed online? If I said, I need help. I've been in an abusive relationship. I need to figure out how to get myself out of it. And I want to know that one day I'll feel like my old self again. What I really needed was to find the courage to leave him and to find myself. I needed love and support, not followers and likes. Maybe if I'd been honest, I could have helped someone. Maybe someone would have seen that post and I could have been someone stranger. I wished I'd been more courageous like Nancy. So life ambled on and I continued to portray myself as having it all together, as someone who had never experienced anything difficult in life before. For a long time, it seemed easy. Then one day it didn't. The most traumatic chapter of my life was the most private. If I didn't tell the story for myself, I owed it to Nancy. Maybe people would be nicer to each other if they realized the power that their actions have. I didn't need to post a sad story about being a domestic violence victim. I needed to tell people that I was a survivor because of a stranger. But I needed to find the courage to do so. And so, of course, I logged into Pinterest to search for inspirational quotes by my icon, Brené Brown. It was like she was speaking to me. I got chills when I read it. When we deny the story, it defines us. When we own the story, we can write a brave new ending. That night, I told my story on Facebook.
Oh, God.
I was done pretending to be perfect, and I decided that anyone who would look at me as weak for telling it didn't deserve to be a part of my life. I was overwhelmed by the response.
Oh, were you?
In a positive way.
Yeah, I'm sure.
As one woman wrote, pure love for a stranger, and another wrote, angels are everywhere. We just need to be listening when they talk to us. Each time that we see the people around us as members of humanity, not as strangers, we take a step toward restoring hope for others. We become links in a chain of kindness. I didn't know it at the time, but the purpose of my trip to Iceland wasn't to save my relationship with my ex-boyfriend like I thought it was. The purpose was to get Nancy's note and to share with you the life-saving power of kindness.
Right.
Why else would I have been sitting behind her on flight 162 on December 30th? What if I'd picked the same flight the day before or the day after? I thought that the day of the flight was one of the loneliest in my life, but I was so wrong. It was the day that changed the entire trajectory of my life. It led to the most fulfilling, meaningful friendships based on vulnerability and kindness. It led to deeper relationships with people I love, and I've gotten to have experiences I never would have gotten to have if I'd stayed with him. All because of a brave note from a stranger. If you ever find yourself sitting in a chair like her, I hope you'll have the same courage she did, even if it's uncomfortable, to take a step outside your comfort zone and say something when your gut tells you something's off. It just might save a life, change a life, or begin a life anew. You might feel like you're crazy and it may be way out of your comfort zone, but maybe, just maybe, you'll help that person see the light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe you'll end up being the stranger they never knew they needed. Thank you.
Wow. First thought. I had only watched the first half. What? Oh, did it? Did it go off? Let me know when I'm back. Hello?